length and breadth of a rectangle are 35 centimeter and 28 centimeter respectively. If it is folded to form a cylinder in two ways, first along the length and then along the breadth, then you have to find a difference between their volume. So let us try to understand this question. In this question, we have been given the dimension of a rectangle as 35 by 28. Yes, by folding the rectangle, we are forming a cylinder. Yes, and the cylinder is formed in two ways. First case is along the length and second case is along the breadth. So in both the cases, we are getting two different cylinder, and as per the question, the volume of both the cylinders would be different, and we have to find out a difference between their volume. So let us try to understand the question and what they have asked in the question with the help of one small animation. So you can see there is a rectangle, and horizontal part represents the length and the vertical part here represents the breadth. This is not a standard because we are just trying to understand in case of this rectangle. Okay, now if this rectangle is folded, okay, if this rectangle is folded to form a cylinder, so what happens? This length of the rectangle, okay, this length of the rectangle becomes the circumference of the cylinder. And what happens with the breadth? The breadth of the rectangle becomes the height of the cylinder, right? So we know what is a formula for circumference. So we'll just write down the information. Here it is given that length is 35 centimeter and the breadth is given as 28 centimeter, right? So length becomes the circumference, that means 2 pi r becomes 35, and breadth becomes the height, that means h becomes 28. Since there are two scenarios, there are two ways how the cylinder is formed. So first way we'll take this as R1 and H1. In the second case that we'll see later on, we'll take that as R2 and H2. So we can just understand that here 2 into 22 by 7 into R1 becomes 35 and H1 remains 28 only. So we'll not repeat the value of H1, we will keep it as it is. So R1 is written as 35 into 7 upon 2 into 22 and H1 will be 28 itself. So these are the two values with the help of which we are going to calculate the volume in first case. Now I would suggest do not find out the decimal value of R1 here, because nowhere in the question they have asked what is the exact value for the R1 or the radius here, right? We have to find out the volume and the difference of volume. So we'll just focus on the volume part only, right? So here you can see this is going to be V1, which is pi R1 square H1. What is pi? 22 by 7 multiplied by R1, which is 35 into 7 upon 2 into 22, 35 into 7 upon 2 into 22. H1 value is 28. Okay, we can easily cancel out this 7, this 22 and this 22. Okay, now further you can see this 2 2s are 4 and 4 7s are 28. So this becomes 35 into 35 and 7 into 7 divided by 22. Now 35 into 35 we can easily do this because any number ending with 5 we have to find out a square, so we can easily write on that as 5 5s are 25 and 3 plus 1 3 4 3 4s are 12, that is 1225 multiplied by 49 divided by 22. So this becomes our V1. We'll not simplify this further. Let us keep it as it is. Do not go for multiplication and finding out a decimal value. Okay, that is our V1 value, right? Now let us see the second case. In second case, what is happening? We are folding the rectangle along the breadth. If you remember, in second case, the horizontal line was the length. Now it is the breadth. Okay, so same rectangle we are folding in another way. Okay, so what happens here? If it is folded along the breadth, now breadth becomes the circumference and length becomes the height. So we'll write down the data as we did in the previous case. So we can say here breadth is nothing but the circumference, which is 28 centimeter, and length is 35 centimeter. This breadth, as I said, it becomes the circumference. So 2 pi r2 is equal to 28, and this length becomes the height, which is 35. So from here we can just write down 2 into 22 by 7 into R2 is 28. So R2 value is 28 into 7 upon 2 into 22. Then H2 value will be 35 centimeter. Okay. Now let us calculate the volume, which is V2 pi R2 square H2. So pi value is 22 by 7 R2 square, which is 28 into 7 into 28 into 7 upon 2 into 22, and this is also 2 into 22 multiplied by height, which is 35. Same way we can cancel out this 22 and 22. 7 4s are 28. Okay, and then this 2 2s are 4, 4 7s are 28, right? So what are we getting here? 7 4s are 28 multiplied by 7 7s are 49 multiplied by 35 divided by 22. If you remember, in the previous case also we got 22 as the denominator, right? So now here what happens, I'll just multiply 28 and 35. That gives me the answer is 980 multiplied by 49 by 22. This is my V2. So if you check V1 that we have got, that also had 49 in the numerator and 22 in the denominator. So V1 value that we had got, it is nothing but 1225. If you remember, we had taken the square of 35. So 1225 multiplied by 49 divided by 22. This is the V1 value. Now since we have to find out the difference between these two, what we'll do, we will take V1 minus V2, which is 1225 multiplied by 49 divided by 22 minus 980 multiplied by 49 divided by 22. So I can take 49 divided by 22 common. So 1225 minus 980, which is 49 upon 22 into. So this difference comes out to be 245. So here now you need to multiply 49 and 225 and then divide by 22. So 49 and this 245, when you multiply, so you will be getting 6,000 and 6 to the 12,005, which you need to divide by 22. Okay, you can just check the multiplication, because this is the step where you have to perform the longer multiplication. And rest of the steps that we have done prior to this, there was no lengthy calculation. It was all simple cancellation and normal calculation. Okay, now here when you divide, you will be getting a final answer that comes out to be 545.68 centimeter square. So this is the difference between the volume. Okay, so let me revise once again what we did here. There was a rectangle which is folded along two ways. So first way, the length becomes the circumference. So you are comparing the length, which was 35. Okay, so that becomes the circumference. So that is 2 pi r is equal to 35. So we got the value of r. Please remember not to calculate the value of that radius in decimals. Keep it as it is, the way it is shown here in the previous calculation, and the height will be another dimension. Similarly for the another rectangle, and rest of the calculation you can see. Then finally find out the difference. Try to minimize your calculation for such type of question.